In general, when we refer to brachos, there is a concept that every bracha, the rule is, begins with a bracha and ends with a bracha. It'll start Baruch Atah Hashem, and then we'll say the rest of the phrase of the rest of the text of that bracha, and then we will conclude that bracha by saying again Baruch Atah Hashem, and that is very frequently the case. For example, the bracha of Asher Yotzar begins Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokai Melech Haolam Asher Yotzar Es Ha'adam, etc. And at the very end, it will conclude Baruch Atah Hashem Rofeichul Basar Mafli Lasos. And that is the general rule. However, there are some exceptions. One such exception is most brachas we make over food. Because it's very short, we do not start and end with a bracha. That would be superfluous. We simply say one phrase, one bracha. But a more lengthy bracha has the beginning as well as the conclusion with the words Baruch Atah Hashem. One additional exception to this are brachos which are purely for a matter of hakaras hatov, of gratitude, of thanksgiving to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for something. One example of that is the bracha that we say every day of Elokai Neshama. That Shulchan Aruch rules based off of Tosfos, in brachos, that one need not begin that bracha with Baruch Atah Hashem, because it's purely one of Hakaras Tov. It's thanking Hashem for returning our neshamos. And that is one example which it does not require a psicha. It does not require to begin Baruch Atah Hashem, and it just at the very end ends Baruch Atah Hashem Machazir Neshamos Liftarim Mesim. However, the Mishnah Berurah quotes, and this is the opinion of the Mishnah Berurah as well as the Gra, and they both say to try to connect that bracha of Elokai Neshama with another bracha. That's based off of another rule. With another rule, which is that when a bracha does not have a psich, does not have a beginning, we try to juxtapose that with a different bracha. That is all practical. Sometimes it comes up with Tfilas Haderech. Some Tfilas Haderech doesn't start with a bracha, it starts with a Yehira Atzon, but it concludes with a bracha. So some actually have the practice, whether it's through eating something or saying a bracha achrona, to try to connect Tfilas Haderech with another bracha. So the same thing says the Mishnah Berurah, says the Gra, we should try to do with the bracha of Elokai Neshama. Now, what would we connect that to? We would connect that to the bracha of Asher Yotzar when we say in the morning. This is why you will find that in some Sidurim, Elokai Neshama will appear right after the bracha of Asher Yotzar. And in some, it appears as the very end of Birchas HaTorah. Perhaps that could also make it into a bracha smucha lechaverta, or perhaps that is not necessary. As the Shulchan Aruch rules, because it's a bracha of Huda'ah, it does not necessarily require a psicha, which therefore it's not problematic. And that's where these two minhagim have developed, of whether one says it in the morning immediately following Asher Yotzar to juxtapose it to the bracha of Asher Yotzar, since it doesn't begin with Baruch Atah Hashem. And others say, no, it's not necessary, and its proper place is after Birchas HaTorah, and therefore we have two different minhagim, two different valid practices, but that is some of the reasoning behind the different practices as to when to say Elokai Neshama. Have a great day.